Okay, so let's talk about SOFR basics. I hope so. This was the background on LIBOR transition. I hope this is understood. Let's proceed. Okay, before we talk about how SOFR is calculated, what are the major differences between LIBOR and SOFR? Let's understand that. First and foremost, LIBOR was unsecured, right? It is just a simple estimate of what is the borrowing rate. There is no collateral, nothing involved. Unsecured borrowing rate, okay, for different maturities. So it was unsecured, but SOFR is a secured rate because it is backed by treasury bonds, which are used as collaterals. Okay. Now, this is the main thing. This is the highlight of today's webinar. If you fully understand the second aspect, my job for today is done, right? Everything else will follow naturally. So the second point is LIBOR used to be forward looking. Okay. When you fix a LIBOR rate, right, what is the 3-month borrowing rate? That is applicable from today to next 3 months, right? It is forward looking. However, when it comes to SOFR, it is backward looking. Okay, the rate that is published is based on the trade that already happened yesterday. So this is the biggest difference, and this particular element becomes the key challenge in terms of updating our understanding of valuation and how we perceive rates in general. All right. Okay. Again, LIBOR was for various maturities. Remember, 7 different maturities we had. So we had quotes for all those 7 maturities, but SOFR has only one tenor, which is overnight. It is just the overnight rate. There is no concept of term rate of SOFR as a quote. You can derive term rate by compounding the overnight rates or from the liquid future contracts. We'll talk about that. But in the base form, it is the overnight rate. There is no direct quote for various maturities of SOFR. Okay. I'm seeing a lot of questions around calculations. We'll go through everything in Excel. Don't worry. Just hold your horses a little bit. Let's understand the difference. LIBOR had a built-in credit component because it was a double A rated bank. There was some credit spread, right? We saw the difference between LIBOR and OIS after 2008 crisis. There was huge difference. So definitely LIBOR had a credit component. It's not risk-free, really. But SOFR is risk-free. Okay, it's not, there's nothing, no default element in this particular rate. LIBOR was partially transaction based because the first preference was to give a transaction based estimate. If transactions are not enough, then you give expert judgment. So partially transaction based. But SOFR is fully transaction based. There is no room for subjective biases, opinions, expert judgment, nothing like that. The rate is purely derived out of actual transactions, that repo transactions that happened yesterday. Okay, so it's purely transaction based. And look at the volume difference. So 500 million daily transaction, underlying transaction. This is the old snapshot, right? When we were talking about transitioning LIBOR, this is at that point. And SOFR market, the repo market was already huge, $750 billion daily underlying transactions. Okay, so you can see that clear difference. So whatever rate you get, there is no ambiguity of any kind of, nobody could manipulate this size of the market, right? $750 billion, right? If one or two parties manipulate, that doesn't matter. It's a huge market. There's no room for manipulation. So these are the main differences. Our focus for today is the second point. If you grasp this particular idea and understand the different adjustments that we do for the valuation, then you would be able to go from there, basically, right? You'll be able to understand how we tweak the different calculations for linear derivatives, options, right? And how do we extract rates from the futures that are listed on CME. So all those calculations will fall in place once you understand this particular argument. Okay, let's proceed. All right. So to answer the question that was asked by many of you, how is SOFR calculated, right? So it's calculated from the repo transactions. Repo stands for reverse purchase. Reverse purchase, right? So in repo, what happens? There is a seller, there is a buyer. Seller says, okay, I will give you this 100 million notional 5-year US Treasury bond. On 1st November, I'll give you that collateral. And you give me this much, 101 million. And the next day, I will buy it back from you. So 2nd November, I'll buy back that treasury bond. And in return, I'll pay you some extra money. So you gave me 101 million, I'll give you 101 million plus 281. 281 is the difference between these two. This is the interest I'm paying just for one day. Okay, 1st November, 2nd November. This is an overnight repo transaction, which is collateralized. You can see, right? The collateral is treasury bond. Okay. Let me ask you this. Who has the repo position? Who has the reverse repo position? It's a major confusion, but let me see if you get it right. Is the seller, does the seller have repo position, or the seller has reverse repo position? Seller has repo, buyer has reverse repo. Awesome. Yeah, all of you got correct. Go by the meaning, right? Reverse purchase. That means I gave you something, I will buy it back. Who is doing that kind of thing? Seller is doing. You take the collateral, I will buy it back. So reverse purchase is from a seller perspective. For buyer, it is reverse repo. Okay. Repo is for seller, reverse repo is for buyer. Okay. How do we calculate SOFR? Secured overnight funding rate. Simple. What is the interest you paid? $281. And what is the original amount? $101 million. This is the interest rate, correct? But this interest rate is for one day. This interest rate is for one day. We annualize it. Anytime you see a rate quote, it is always annualized, right? So for one day, if this is the interest, then what is the rate for 360 days? So multiply 360 divided by 1, which gives you 0.1%. That is the SOFR rate. Okay, it is from one specific transaction. Imagine these many transactions per day, 700 billion to 800 billion dollars transaction per day. Take all these such transactions, take these SOFR rates, okay, and then calculate a volume weighted median, not mean. Remember, in case of LIBOR, it was mean, and we know that mean is sensitive to outliers, right? Of course, we trim the outliers, but still, median is a little bit more robust statistic. Yeah, we don't use 365 days. It's a convention, right? 360 days is the convention, Act by 360. In US, okay? Other areas, you can use 365. So there are differences. So yeah, so we have these many transactions, and then we take, so get these rates and do a volume weighted median of general collateral report rates. Okay, I don't know if you are aware of what is general collateral versus special collateral. So just to give you a little bit understanding, special collaterals are where we say that the bond is trading special, and the particular collateral becomes high in demand at a particular point, right, during auction time. So in that case, the rate actually goes very low. I mean, you can keep the collateral, don't give me money. It's the collateral itself becomes very, very in demand, right? So that's called special collateral. So we exclude those special collaterals, so only consider general collateral, okay? And then take a volume weighted median, and that median is published by Federal Reserve Bank of New York next business day at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Okay, so over the day, take all these repo transactions, get the rates, calculate volume weighted median of general collateral repo rates, and that rate gets published next business day at 8 a.m. Eastern time. All right, let me quickly show you the website so you can understand. Anybody can go to this website, okay? It's not a black box anymore. Federal Reserve Bank of New York, go to this website. They have some valuable information on SOFR. You can read about it. But this is the publication. You can see, let me refresh this. Let's see. Okay. So the last published, okay, here is the tricky part. So here, please pay attention. There's few differences that you have to be aware of. For the transactions that happened on 1st May, right? The SOFR rate is 4.39%. That is the median, 50 percentile. Other percentiles are also available for you, but the rate, it's a 50%, which is the median, right? So 4.39% is the rate. Okay. So today is which day? But this is for which day? Let me open the calendar parallelly. You can hold on. Yeah. So why don't I have the rate for May 2nd? Why it is 1st May here? That's the latest. Yes. So the idea is the 1st May transactions, all the repo transaction that happened on this day, which is on Thursday, May 1st, that got published on 2nd May. Okay. All transactions that happened on Friday, which is 2nd May, the volume weighted median will be published on Monday, which is 5th May. Right? So Saturday, Sunday, you will not see anything. The last rate that I have available with is a Thursday rate, which got published on Friday. The Friday rate will be published on Monday. So that's why I don't have that here. Make sense? 4.39% is the SOFR rate applicable for Thursday that I have. Friday rate, I don't have it. I'll have it on Monday, published on Monday. So there is a lag of 1 day. Please remember, published day and the value date have a lag of 1 day. Sometimes if there are holidays, there will be a lag of 3 days. Okay, so we'll go through the detailed calculation. I'll show you how to calculate averages, indexes, and all these things. So this is the first thing that you need to note. Let's come back here. Yeah, so just go to this particular website. I put the link here on the PPT, and then you can just browse through the data, download in Excel, play with the values. Okay. So that's how SOFR is calculated. All right. Next, we'll talk about valuations and all, but let's cover this particular topic. IBOR fallback, right? So as I mentioned, right, for legacy trades that still reference LIBOR, we need a way or a means or mechanism to keep continuing inferring LIBOR until the maturity of the contract. But LIBOR is not published anymore, right? So what do we do? ISDA proposed, let's do this. They studied the gap between LIBOR and SOFR rate, 5-year history. They took 5-year historical time series data between LIBOR and SOFR when LIBOR was alive. Then they calculated the median on 5th March 2021, the median of the spread or the difference. And that is captured, which we will be able to use as a top-up or add-on onto the equivalent SOFR term rate, add that top-up or the spread, right, which ISDA published. Bloomberg is the official vendor which publishes the fallback rates. Just add that and infer the LIBOR rate. Okay. LIBOR is risky, right? SOFR is risk-free. So LIBOR will have some spread. So from historical time series data, 5-year historical time series data, we captured that median spread between LIBOR and SOFR, and that spread is fixed. I keep using that spread as an add-on on top of the SOFR equivalent term rate to infer the LIBOR rate. That is the fallback rate. And on the right-hand side, you can see these are the spread amounts. Okay, for different maturities. Remember 7 maturities. So if you want to figure out what is the LIBOR 3-month rate, take the SOFR equivalent 3-month rate, add this basis, you'll get the fallback rate. Okay. Sunil has a good question. Spread is stochastic, right? It should not be static, but I mean it is convenient. So what can we do? This is one. There was a lot of there are good videos on YouTube as well from ISDA team. Why they came up with this? So I would recommend go to that and just uh, listen to that podcast. Okay, so this is the fallback approach. Now here I used couple of terms which are a little controversial. So here's the thing: SOFR is an overnight rate. How do we define a term rate for SOFR? Term rate means a rate that is applicable for a like 3 month maturity, 6 month maturity, 1 year maturity, right? How do we Amit has a question. Fixed spread is different. Yeah, you can see, right? For different tenors, we have different spreads. So add the proper spread to get the fallback rate. But we need a equivalent SOFR term rate. What is a 6 month SOFR rate? How do we get that? There are two ways to calculate this. Okay. One is actually there is a recommendation for different types of products which reference LIBOR, right? It could be simple consumer loans like floating rate loans, for example. Banks typically use a floating rate benchmark LIBOR, add some margin and credit spread, and that becomes the floating rate for the customer from a loan product perspective. And there are derivatives which reference a benchmark rate. Okay, so let's say legacy derivatives are still referencing the LIBOR. So for different products, the definition of term rate might be different. Uh, for example, for loan products, you can use the moving averages that Federal Reserve Bank of New York published. 30-day, 90-day, 180 days, right? Those moving averages can be used as a proxy for the term rate. And then add the spread to get the LIBOR rate. Or else you go ahead and construct a proper rate curve that every bank will need eventually, right? You need to have a zero coupon yield curve. That is the basis for valuation of all securities. That can be constructed from liquid SOFR futures. Now that CME has a futures market on SOFR, we can infer the rates and that becomes the term rate. So I'll show you the calculations that will help you understand how CME comes up with term rates. Okay. All right. So I hope you understood the fallback approach. Let's proceed.